Okay, so we're almost done, at least with this project. This looks fairly well. It's a little darker than what I would normally do for the area that I'm painting, but it's acceptable and it would work. And I'm going to explain this again. You don't want it the same throughout. You want dark spots, a little reddish spots, a little browner spots, a little greener spots, whatever it is you need to make, look at the area and you need to mix it up. You don't want it monochrome all across the whole thing. So, what we're going to do is going to finish up this rock face today. And what we're going to do is we're going to put the riprap and all the loose gravel here. Now again, this goes back to one of the companies I use a lot of products from. This is the Arizona Rock and Mineral Company. I buy a lot of products from them, and I'm familiar with some of the basic products that actually meet my need. Typically here I'm going to use high desert sand, Apache stone, and high desert fieldstone. These three stones I'm going to blend to mix it. I have the sand right here in an open bag already. This is a mixture of all three of these already from the Colorado and Coyote Creek. I saved it because I didn't need to throw it all away. It's still very useful and it'll work for what we're going to do here. So here in the rock face, one of the things that comes into effect is you've got water. And when water freezes, it turns into ice. When the ice gets in between rocks and expands, it cracks. And when that cracks, they fall down the hill. That's what we're going to duplicate here. So what we're going to do is just take some high desert sand, and we're just going to kind of just mix it right into everything here so you can see it just kind of rolling down the hill here. And we're not, again, this is not, there's not a particular way of doing it. You just want to get it in there and get it to mix up in there. I'm going to grab a brush here. There we go. And I'm just going to kind of mix it into there and make it blend in a bit. Just so it has that look like it's falling off of the face of this thing and kind of bleeding down into there. And then I'm going to take, now this is not a big rock face, so I'm not going to have a lot of rocks here, but I'm going to stick a few up in here, just some bigger ones, just kind of giving that effect that it's fallen off there. Working with the static grass to make sure that these, because the rocks are not that heavy, and yet in real life they would be, they'd be heavy enough to knock the dirt and the grass over, but I got to make it look like it belongs there. There you go, just like that. And now it has that look a little more realistic. Now if I want to, I could take a couple more here and just lay them down into here. Here, just to give it that effect. Now if I wanted to, I could go back and grab the sand here a bit and just add a little more to try, because the grass seems to be wanting to hold it up, so what I'll do is I'll add a little more sand, and when I kind of brush it, stiffen it a bit, it'll fill in enough that those rocks will have a place to sit down, just like so. There we go. That's all there is to it. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is just add the glue to this. Again, this is where we want to make sure we had a little dishwater soap in there. And if you have water, which I should have some sitting here, there it is. You want to add just a little bit of water to wet this down. There we go. And then we take the glue here, and we're literally just going to put drops of white glue right onto our area there. we go. And that will finish the rock face, which only leaves us with one more project, and that is putting some brush and some items like that on it. Now, as you saw in the beginning in the rock face in the Colorado cutter, I built pine trees, I built aspen trees, I built everything you can possibly imagine. What I want to do is I want to build some brush that you typically see in the plains area. Now, you can add weeds, you can do different things like that, but one of the things I like to make brush with is super trees, and I get this from Scenic Express. These are absolutely fantastic for what I want to do, and actually I'm not caring if these are really high quality or what. I'm really just kind of interested in, and I'm not going to need that many for this project, I'm interested in this foliage here on the outside, this smaller stuff. And so I can take a bunch of these together and kind of clump them together just like I would find in the Colorado brush in the plains area, just like this, and that would make a really good bush for me to work with. But these are a little lighter color than what I would find. Typically when you find them, you would see them, they're kind of a gray to almost really dark colored. And so what I would do with these then is I would simply just grab some gray primer. That's why I got this plastic out here, because I'm going to spray these. And I'm just going to lightly, just like so. That's all I'm going to do with them. I'm just going to throw them right back down there just like so. And a little dark, a little light, it's not the end of the world. You're not trying to, ooh, that paint primer is old. There we go. And you just kind of just get them covered a little bit, just like so. There we go. And now I'm going to let them get clean. I'm going to clean myself up. I'm going to let those dry and we'll go from there. Now, if you're going to do aspen trees or something like that out of this, you want to kind of spray them in off-white and then come in with maybe some black paint and use a toothbrush and kind of flick little dots on them so it looks like the bark of an aspen tree. Different things like that. There's lots of ways to do this. This is just the way I'm going to do these particular ones, and I'll show you how to get the leaves on and everything else. So hold fast and we'll let these dry. It won't take long because they're, this is primer. This stuff dries fast. It's probably almost dry now, but I need to get set up with a few more things and we'll come back. So just a few minutes. Okay. Now we've got these kind of painted and dried. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a couple of these and kind of group them together till I get something that I'm looking for. And what I'm going to do is going to take some super glue here and just simply glue some of these stalks together. Just like so. And then we're going to add a little more here. Just like so. Oh, two of them got stuck, one of them didn't. So we're gonna, it's kind of stuck. There we go. And then I have some of these really fine bushes here, and I want little pieces left, and I just want to just glue them in so they kind of fill the bush out a bit. Now, I would not do this on anything that's beyond 2 feet away from the front of the table. So if it's 2 feet or less, I'll go through this effort. If it's beyond 2 feet, now I'm going to start thinking about it, because it's not close enough that it's going to make a difference, and it's not going to change really too much of the detail that's on front of the layout there. You got to be careful. I'm going to be like Lionel, and I'm going to glue my finger to my eyebrow. There we go. Nice. All right. So I'm going to set these aside. Now, this is, I'm going to save these little pieces that are left over here that I've got to kind of fall away. Those are going to be make a good brush around the outside edges here. All right. So now I want this brush to have a little color to it. I'm going to put some leaves on it. This is my leaving brush that I basically use to put a bunch of leaves into, and I've got all kinds of color in here. Now, I'm doing fall, so most of my colors are going to be a yellow to a little green, a little brown, and different colors like that. And Scenic Express provides some of the best. So there's kind of a brown color. There's my yellow. There's a kind of a real off brown. This is more like a really dead branch, and then here's a little green. So there's a couple ways to go about this. You can use 3M adhesive spray. Nothing wrong with it. It works fine. I still prefer hairspray. Hairspray works best. It's not that bad to work with, and I can get anything to stick with it. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my bush, and I'm just going to coat it in hairspray. Then I'm going to take my green, because the green leaves will be on the inside, and I don't want a lot of green, so I'm just going to put a little green in here, a little bit here and there. Not a lot. There you go. There's my green. Hairspray again, because I want colors to stick onto my other colors. Now my next color I'm going to put in here is yellow, because this is my dominant color. There we go. If I think I need a little more, I just add a little more, just like so. Okay, there's my yellow. Hairspray. Now, I'm going to add 2 more colors, and these colors are just to give some texture and some variety to it. Not going to do a lot of these, just enough to give it a little darker color so it looks like it's fall, just like so. And then I'm going to use this one here. And I like the really fine stuff when I'm working with this stuff, because I want to be able to I want it to be small. I don't want to cover up my branches and all the texture I have in there. I want it just a little bit in there. And if you're finding it's not sticking very well, more hairspray. Okay. Not bad, but I feel like I want just a little more yellow showing there, so I'm going to just grab just a little yellow. you go. Now, I can give you a heads up. If you use red, because I know that leaves turn red, not arguing that point, but use it very sparingly. It's a very powerful color. And if you put a lot of red into something, it kind of gets a little overwhelming. So we're going to let that dry. Now, I'm going to give you a hint about colors, about hairspray. Hairspray is water soluble. So one of the things I do as a final step to that, and after that dries, is I will spray on either some enamel, some dull coat, some type of lacquer, dull finish that'll go onto there that will adhere to that. And that will hold all that texture together. Because if I were to hit this with water after it dries, it will really leaves will begin to fall off. Now I'm going to use that box again, and the reason why I let that all collect is because I'm going to put some leaves falling down on top of this. So I think what I might do is I might put this, see, and that's fine. See how it just falls off on there? We'll let that fall, but that's why I want it to dry first. I'm not sure where I'm going to put this yet, but we'll see. But let's take a close-up of how this looks up close so you can see how it looks. Try and get it in focus here and get my shirt behind it so it's got some contrasting color there. But you can see that's just all the brush I'm going to put on there, and I'll put in some filler to go on to there. So that's what we've got here. So we're gonna let that dry. Now, some of these other brushes that I have here, I can add color to them, or I can just leave them bare. And what I'll eventually do is I want to glue them in so they have a look of an old brush or an old sage brush or something like that. And I'll just fill that in. But we'll look at that as soon as everything dries and we get it sprayed. The other thing I want to do, I talked about putting the hairspray on this and adding to it. Same thing holds true with it too. If you're not going to do any more scenery and it's completely done, I have friends that use just the hairspray and don't do anything else. There are two reasons why I like to put a dull coat on there. Reason number one, when I take a picture up close and I use my floodlights and everything that I have to take photographs, one of the things I find about the rayon fibers, which is what static grass is they kind of reflect that color back at me. And I don't like that. It kind of it doesn't take away, man, when I see some of these photographs, they're fantastic. But I notice that they're shine back, and grass doesn't typically shine back when light hits on it. So by using a dull coat and spraying the whole area, I knock that sheen down so I don't have quite as much of the light reflecting back at me. I think it looks more natural, looks more realistic. The other thing is, if you are going to end up using water-soluble products, or you might spray it with water in the area, if you put on that lacquer or that enamel finish onto there, it's going to act like a glue, and it's going to actually hold this stuff in place even if it gets wet. And so I'm waiting on this. I actually have somebody running out and getting me some of my Def lacquer dull. We'll see if it gets here in time, but my idea is I will probably do that next and hit this whole area once this dries to kind of knock down any shine, especially on some of these rocks up front here. Sometimes they get a little shine. I like to knock that down, so I'll spray all that with that dull coat. For lack of a term, I'm going to use dull coat, but it doesn't have to be dull coat. It can be any flat, clear finish, but it should be a lacquer or enamel. And then once we get that done, I'll put this bush on there after I also spray that, and then we'll call this project done. So I also got a request that I put a list of products that I used and where I get them from. So I'll put a list at the end of this video, just where I got it, where it's from, I might even add a little segment just showing you once again what those products are, and we'll go from there, especially the primary ones that people might be looking for. I mean, I don't think I need to show every single product that I use. I can use, you know, hey, I bought this static grass. You can buy static grass from Scenic Express. I bought this flocking from Scenic Express. All those type of things, I can just generically group them. But we'll go through some of the other items. So in any case, we'll see you in a few minutes. Okay, so my trees are actually dried. I made a couple more. This one has a little more red in it than this one. And we're going to use those, and I have a couple real small bushes. Now, one of the reasons why I like using styrofoam is when I go to plant these bushes here. So what we're going to do is I'm going to plant one right here. And I'm just going to drill that hole. And then I'm going to take my tweezers here. I'm going to grab the end of this, just like so. And this is nothing more than white glue. Of course, I'm going to drip it all over the place because that makes it handy. Once I got it planted, there we go. Now, I want it to have kind of a look like there's some leaves falling off. So I'm going to use these two colors. And I don't need to make a lot. I just need enough to kind of make it believable. That's all we're trying to do. So I kind of just let it fall around in the area there. And then I add a little of this rusty color here, which I kind of like. There we go. And then let's plant these other two smaller bushes. Small, so we can just, how about if we, right there, we go, just like so. And this other one, real close to this other one here. There we go. So, and then finally, we'll put the tree up a little higher. Now this tree I want to sit up here on top, but because there's so much there, I want to add my leaves ahead of time. So I'm going to add just a just a little yellow to it. I want this. That's yellow. This happens to be a finer yellow than that other one I grabbed. Just ever so little of this. Just a little bit. And then we'll put a little more of this rusty color in there, just kind of. So, just a little bit here and there to just kind of give you an image of it. Now, again, I want to seal it up. I don't want it going away. So so I'm going to use matte finish. And I'm just going to just kind of glue it on there a little bit, and then I'm going to come back in with this tree. There we go. I'll put a little glue on the end of this. If you got, my hole's a little bigger, so I'm going to use a little super glue here to kind of hold it in place while it. There we go. There's a prairie scene. Nice. A few bushes, little rock. This makes it kind of interesting. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this outside, take a photograph, and post it at the end of this thing, at the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed this series. Next will be the river. We'll probably take a little break before we start that, because I'm going to have the guys come out and we're going to do a little work on the layout, and then we'll come back and we'll pick up that series. But until next time, happy modeling.